to the logo on my chest and tell them, slam me, ego, slam me, ego, slam me, ego, slam me, hey, hit it up hard, hit it with a strike, from the national anthem to the bottom of the night. I'm in, slam me, ego, slam me, ego, slam me, ego, slam me, hey, you already know what's up. What's that? Another home run. We should know the job ain't done till we hold that trophy up. Hey.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 320 of the Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I'm Ben Fadden here. Let's talk about Shohei Ohtani today, shall we? I'm sure a lot of people have heard, they have seen the report from Bob Nightengale yesterday about Shohei Ohtani. And I think that's what a lot of Padres fans focuses on right now, just because it's the off season. There's not a ton happening. It seems like the Padres have made most of their moves this off season, and that is a big just report to put out there by Bob Nightingale yesterday about the Padres' plans for when Shohei Ohtani is going to be a free agent at the end of the season. So let me just set this up. I'll get to the chat, obviously. Love interacting with you guys. I'll try to get to every comment. Great way to make sure I get to your comment and see it is by using that super chat button in case a bunch of comments come in. I will definitely get to those. So let's start with this Bob Nightingale report. So yesterday, it wasn't just an Ohtani article. There was a lot of subjects discussed. The main topic was Carlos Correa, and Scott Boras talked to Bob Nightingale about that whole process. And part of that was Boras pretty much calling out the Mets. But this is a Padres thing. And later in the article, there was a little tidbit about the Padres and the Dodgers. And Bob Nightingale said, the worst kept secret in baseball is that the Dodgers are trying to stay below the luxury tax to jump in with all their might to sign Shohei Ohtani as a free agent after the season. Their stiffest competition, the San Diego Padres, who also plan to be all in. When I read that, I was like, wait, what? Wow, all in on Shohei Ohtani, the Padres? After signing Bogarts and extending Tatis and extending Musgrove and giving Manny $300 million and still having to pay Hosmer's contract these last 3 years, and you want to extend Darvish at some point, and you want to extend Soto or bring Soto back, you want to give Manny another contract. I just that was a little surprising to see. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised. Maybe I shouldn't have been surprised to see the Padres planning to be all in on Shohei Ohtani when he hits free agency. Because it's the Padres, because it's Peter Seidler, because it's AJ Preller. Like, they do things that we don't expect them to do, or the baseball world, the national baseball world doesn't expect them to do. There are some things that us fans, like diehard fans that follow the Padres and AJ Preller and all things Padres, we're not really surprised when they make that move. But some national people are surprised. Like, where do they get all this money? Like, I'm not surprised when those takes come out and the Padres, you know, have these reports about them wanting to sign Manny again and they're not afraid to sign Soto to 500 mil, right? Like, and they bring in Bogarts. Like, we know they have the money. Where do they get it? Well, I don't know. Did you see the postseason crowd that the Padres had in all of their playoff games? Maybe that. Maybe the record attendance totals that they had this past season and the City Connect uniforms and all the money that was generated from those. Like, there's a ton of interest in the San Diego Padres. So I know where they get the money. We know where they get the money. We know that Peter Seidler and the Padres organization has the money. It's still just surprising a little bit, I think, to me, to see them in on the Ohtani sweepstakes. There's a lot of different questions here. Like, should we really believe the Padres being in on Ohtani? And I think the answer to that is yes. There's some other questions in this. Are the Padres more desperate than the Dodgers to land Ohtani? Are the Padres more desperate than the New York Mets to land Ohtani? Are the Padres more desperate than another team that maybe we're not thinking about to land Ohtani? Probably not. But maybe the Padres. I don't want to characterize the Padres as being desperate for Ohtani. I think that they just really want to win, and Peter Seidler doesn't view the Padres as solely a business, and this is a way that I can profit. I'm only looking to profit. No, he's looking to win as well, and if you put a winning team on the field, then the profit will come, the money will come, the revenue will come. So that's how he's thinking about this. So that goes back to the whole, where do they get this money thing? Well, because they have an owner who's trying to win. And so they get money from him trying to win and from AJ building a roster trying to win, right? So let's first hit on the Dodgers part of this. The worst kept secret in baseball, Nightengale says, is that the Dodgers are trying to stay below the luxury tax, jump in with all their might to sign Ohtani as a free agent after the season. We know this. Yeah, it's the worst kept secret in baseball. The Dodgers, they stayed under the luxury tax this offseason. They were waiting for the Trevor Bauer news to come down, and I think they were a little surprised about the timing of that news and when it came down. So maybe that's why it took them a little bit of time to make the decision to DFA him, and then he was released because another team didn't want to trade for him, obviously. But I still think with the Dodgers, they took too long to make that decision to release Bauer. Like, he should have been released, like, this within moments of him being reinstated. I understand, okay, maybe within days he should have been released because you're trying to see if you can trade him. But it was clear they weren't going to trade him. So they should have released him earlier. But this isn't what we're talking about. I talked about Bauer there. I hit on Bauer because that factors into why they weren't making a bunch of moves this offseason, because they were waiting to see how much money they had to pay Bauer and what did that mean for their luxury tax number and all that. So right now, with them paying Bauer, I think it's 22.5 mil, and it would be a little less than 22 million, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's a little less than 22 million for Bauer if another team would pick him up and give him the veterans minimum or whatever it is. I think it's 750,000, the minimum salary, what Hosmer's getting from the Cubs. If they were to do that, still their luxury tax, I believe, again, don't quote me on this. I'll look it up. I'm going to look it up right now. I believe their luxury tax is just below the 233 number, and that's their goal. They want to field a contending team, but they don't want to go over it because they have Ohtani in mind for next offseason. And they want to be able to go all out there and then probably build on that in future off seasons. So go get Ohtani, you're over the luxury tax, and then build around Ohtani, because if you're the Dodgers, you don't want to just go get Ohtani and then you stop there, right? You want to build around that. And I know that they draft well, they have a lot of homegrown talent, but there's a lot of free agents out there every year that are probably going to be appealing for the Dodgers if they get Ohtani, and even if they don't. Right now, the luxury tax is 237 according to Fangraphs. So that's actually over the 233 number. So I believe they're going to have to make some moves here to get under that number. They don't have to be under the number by opening day, but they have to be under it by, I think, the trade deadline or season's end. They have to be under it by then to not get taxed. But right now, according to Fangraphs, their estimated luxury tax payroll sits at 237.8 mil, a little over that. And the first luxury tax number, I believe, is 233. So they'd be over it. So they still have some work there to get under it. Maybe they continue to spend and they just say, "Hey, we'll go over it. That's fine. We're still going to want to go get Ohtani." But I'm just going back to Nightengale here with what he's saying about the Dodgers trying to stay below the luxury tax. Yeah, we know that. We know that, like, they went out, they didn't try to bring back Trey Turner. They went in and brought Miguel Rojas in. Like, that's a 5-war gap between those two players. They have Trace Thompson right now in center field. They haven't made huge additions this offseason because they're trying to go get Ohtani. They want to go all in on Ohtani. And they know that they're going to have competition. The Padres, according to Nightengale, their plan is to go all in. And Nightengale is saying that the Padres are the Dodgers' stiffest competition. He's not saying the Mets are. So now, I want to be clear. I don't want to make Nightengale out to be Jeff Passan. Like, Nightengale gets stuff wrong. But when a report's out there by a big baseball reporter, a big national insider, I'm going to talk about it. Padres fans, baseball fans, they're going to talk about it. There's going to be interest there. You don't just throw something out there. Oh, the Padres are going to be the Dodgers' stiffest competition when the Padres aren't interested in Ohtani. Like, no, they're interested in Shohei Ohtani, definitely. Now, do I believe that the Padres are going to be the Dodgers' stiffest competition? I don't. Because I think the Padres are going to get Manny Machado and lock him down, and that will force the Mets to be the Dodgers' stiffest competition. I think the Mets, we saw that report by Andy Martino, who covers the Mets this past week, saying about how the Mets, there's no reason to believe that they'll go after Machado and Ohtani, and they might do that if Machado's out there. But if Peter Seidler was smart, if the Padres were smart, they would go lock down Manny and extend him, not even let him get to that opt-out. Because if he gets to the opt-out, he's going to go into free agency to at least bump up the Padres' price even more and see how high he can get it, I would think. And you bet if Machado gets into free agency, Steve Cohen's calling him. The Dodgers would probably call him, but I'm confident that Manny would not go to the Dodgers. Even if they offer him the most money, he's not going to go to the Dodgers. After all of the years that he's had here with the Padres and all of the energy, how excited he was to beat the Dodgers, I don't see him going to the Dodgers and coming into Petco Park with the Dodgers. The Mets, I still think he's going to be with the Padres, but the Mets, I could see him go to more than the Dodgers. Play with Lindor and whoever else is left with the Mets. Buck Showalter, obviously, his former manager. I could see that more than him going to the Dodgers. So I think, as for Nightengale, I don't believe that the Padres right now would be the stiffest competition for Ohtani for the Dodgers. I think it would be the Mets. Because I think the Padres, they're not going to feel the pressure to go get Ohtani. I think their pressure right now is to lock up Manny. And if they lock up Manny, then you have 2024 guaranteed with Manny, Soto, Tatis, and Bogarts, and Cronenworth, and Musgrove, and Suarez, down the line. You have that guaranteed. For now, 2023 is the only year that is guaranteed with Manny, Soto, Bogarts, and Tatis, right? That's it. And you can add Josh Hader on there, and Yu Darvish, and Blake Snell. So I think there's pressure on the Padres more so to lock up Manny than there is to be the Dodgers' stiffest competition to go get Ohtani. If Manny walks and he goes somewhere else, then yeah, they might have pressure to go bring in Ohtani to replace Manny offensively. But I don't even want to look down that road right now. I want to be looking at it as the Padres adding Shohei to this roster alongside Manny, Tatis, Bogarts, Cronenworth, right? I don't know how realistic that is. I mean, I cannot count out the Padres, though. I want to be clear. My stance on this is I don't think the Padres will sign Shohei Ohtani because they will sign Manny, and they will try to make every effort to bring back Soto as well. But I'm not going to count out the Padres in this because it is Peter Seidler. Because he is one of the few owners in Major League Baseball that I think would be okay with losing money in a season if that meant that he gave it his best effort to go win a World Series. Like, he can only control so much. He can control the players that he brings in to the Padres. And he can control how much money he offers players. He couldn't control Judge not coming to the Padres or Trey Turner not coming to the Padres. But he could control the offer that they put forth to them, and they put together the best offer to them in terms of money, right? But he can't control ultimately what the player does. But he's one of those owners that is probably okay with losing money or making very little money if that meant that the Padres won and they brought in these big players. So I'm not going to count out the Padres in this Ohtani thing here. AJ Preller, we got to remember AJ Preller, he was in on Ohtani. I think Ohtani, at least reports, Barry Bloom, I don't know how credible you want to say Barry Bloom is, but he tweeted my tweet yesterday about Ohtani, saying that Bob is right about the Padres' interest here and how much AJ was interested in Ohtani. And part of the reason why Ohtani went to the Angels and not the Padres was because of the DH, right? Because the Angels had a DH, and at that time, there was no DH. And with Ohtani, obviously, it was going to be him pitching, and it was going to be him as the designated hitter. With the Padres, he would have probably had to play the field. He would have had to play the outfield, or first base. I don't know how realistic first base was, but he wanted to DH and pitch. And the Padres, they could not offer that opportunity. Here's the Barry Bloom tweet here. So he tweeted my tweet yesterday, just me saying what Bob Nightengale said. Padres are the Dodgers' stiffest competition for Ohtani. They plan to be all in on him next offseason. Here's Barry. Bob is right. The Padres might have signed Ohtani out of Japan if the NL had the DH back then. The two sides were close. And Barry Bloom, he senior writer for Sportico. Looks like he used to write for the Union Tribune, MLB Hall of Fame voter. So that's his credentials, I guess. So the two sides were close, Ohtani and the Padres. So Preller, especially, he was close to signing Ohtani. He really wanted Ohtani, not knowing that Ohtani was going to be this successful at the big league level, right? Now he's put together an MVP season, an MVP caliber season, would have won the MVP this past season if it wasn't for Judge hitting 62 home runs and playing for the Yankees, right? This spectacular player, 2022, Ohtani had a 9.6 WAR, 34 home runs, a 145 OPS plus, league averages 100, 2.23 ERA, a 172 ERA plus, league averages 100. So this guy is having a sub-3 ERA, and he's hitting over 30 home runs at the plate. Like, he's the best baseball talent we've ever seen, right? So he's definitely worth the money. You know AJ Preller is interested. You know Peter Seidler is going to be interested. I just don't know if they're going to be as desperate, at least money-wise, and, like, act desperately. That's what I mean. Like, just throw whatever the heck is necessary at Ohtani more than the Dodgers or the Mets. The Dodgers, it seems like they are putting their how should I say this? It seems like the Dodgers, they're putting all of their attention, all of their money into one basket, into that Ohtani basket, if that makes sense. Like, trying to get under the luxury tax this offseason, not making really any moves, being okay with Miguel Rojas and Gavin Lux being their middle infield. Like, they're putting all of their eggs, that's what I meant to say, all their eggs into the Ohtani basket. And if they don't get Ohtani next offseason, then I think their offseason would probably be like a failure. And the Mets, you don't sign Carlos Correa for $315 million. It seems like they're putting a lot of their eggs into the Ohtani basket. Steve Cohen and his money. Let's say Manny. If Manny opts out and is a free agent, then maybe they'll put their eggs into the Manny basket. But let's say Manny stays with the Padres, because I have faith the Padres will get this done. He stays with the Padres, and Ohtani is clearly the big fish out there. There's no two big fish out there, Manny and Ohtani next offseason. It's just one. It's Ohtani. It's Ohtani, or who's the best remaining guy? Like Jock Peterson out there? Ian Happ? Michael Brantley? Like, those are some of the Bellinger. Those are some of the names out there. It's nowhere close to Ohtani and Manny. So if Ohtani's the only guy out there, the Padres are going to win that bid over the Dodgers. They're going to win that bid over the Mets. They can. Again, I don't want to totally count out Peter Seidler, but Steve Cohen does have more money than Peter. And the Dodgers, they would be more desperate at that point. If the Padres had Manny, Soto, Tatis, Bogarts, Cronenworth guaranteed for 2024, at least 2024. And you have Manny long-term. Manny, Bogarts, Tatis guaranteed long-term, even if Soto leaves. If they have that, the Dodgers would be more desperate to get Ohtani than the Padres. And the Mets would probably be more desperate than the Padres to get Ohtani, right? Unless they're trying to put all their eggs in the Soto basket the next offseason and let the Dodgers get Ohtani or another team get Ohtani. See what I'm saying there? Hopefully you guys understand that. I will get to your comments. Stay with me here. I'm definitely going to get to all your comments. But I just wanted to give my thoughts here. And this is what would happen. This is what would happen if the Padres got Shohei Ohtani. This is how wild this would be. They would be giving, let's say if they got Manny too. Let's say if they paid Manny and Ohtani. Because that's the ideal scenario, right? Manny, Ohtani, Soto. I'll put Soto in there as well. Like, the best case scenario. Seidler says, F it, I don't care. I'm spending all this money. You're giving 300 plus to Manny. You're giving maybe 500 million to Soto. You're giving 400 plus to Ohtani, probably. You're giving 324 million to Tatis. That's the amount left, including this season on his contract. 100 million left on the Musgrove extension. Well, he hasn't started the extension, but the 5 years, 100 mil, because that extension starts this offseason. And then the 280 that has not yet started on the Bogarts contract. That totals $1.904 billion that the Padres, Peter Seidler, would be spending on 6 players. Manny, Soto, Ohtani, Tatis, Bogarts, and Musgrove. $1.904 billion. That's a ton of money on 6 players. How are you going to be rounding out the roster? Like that's where that question comes in. Like, baseball, it's not basketball where you can spend a ton of money on a few players here. The Padres and just any baseball team in general, you got to spend money on other parts of the route. You can't just spend it all on offense. I think you got to spend it in other areas of the team as well. Now, this is where it also comes in with the good scouting and all that, right? I know this guy's 16, but Ethan Salas just came in, and he's in the organization now. And they have Dylan Lesko and Jackson Merrill. Like, they do have young talent as well that can hopefully be still in the organization and be on the roster, so the Padres don't have to spend a bunch of money on other spots on the roster. But that's a question. That is a question. The Padres have made a signing. Domingo Tapia. They signed Domingo Tapia to a minor league deal. A minor league deal for Domingo Tapia. We'll get back to this Ohtani discussion, but I just want to see who Domingo Tapia is. I have not heard of him. I've heard of Raimel Tapia, who used to play for the Rockies. MLB trade rumors is saying he will presumably be invited to Major League Spring Training. 31 years old, Major League success in 2021. Split between the Mariners and the Royals. Between those two clubs, 33 and two-thirds innings over 34 appearances, 2.67 ERA. 2022 claimed off waivers by the A's, spent the season being shuttled between the majors and the minors. 1.76 ERA in AAA with Vegas, 8.47 with Oakland. Low strikeouts, low strikeout approach. Stranded 72.2% of base runners with Vegas, 62.2% with the A's. All right. I don't feel like going all the way through Domingo Tapia too much. Everyone's here for the Ohtani discussion. Maybe that guy turns out to be something for the Padres, but he's just another, I guess, depth option. I don't expect him to be added to the 40-man because it's a minor league deal and it's just an invite to spring training. But there's depth options for the Padres. Jay Groom, Adrian Morahone, Wilmer Font, Brent Honeywell, this guy they just signed, Domingo Tapia, Julio Teheran, Pedro Avila. Like, there's a lot of arms there in case injuries happen. But the top 5 in the rotation, still Darvish, Snell, Musgrove, Seth Lugo as the 4, and then Nick Martinez as the 5, or you could flip-flop those two between the 4 and the 5 spots. And then the bullpen's solid as well. Hader and Hill and Garcia and Suarez and Pomerantz, if he can be healthy. Tim Hill, I already talked about. Chris Matt probably would be on the roster. Steven Wilson still here. Like, there's talent. All right, so getting back to this Ohtani discussion. So I already hit on the money there. That's a lot of money. Best case scenario, that's a lot of money spent on 6 players, and I don't think the Padres would do that. I don't see the Padres having Manny, Soto, Bogarts, Tatis, Musgrove, and Ohtani. Like, that's asking for a lot. I don't know about you guys. I just don't see that. I look, I applaud Peter Seidler for spending all this money and investing in this team, and so I refuse to totally count out Peter Seidler for getting Ohtani. But if he gets Ohtani, then do you think they're bringing back Soto? I don't know. If they bring Soto back, they bring Manny back, you see them bringing Ohtani in? I don't know. I think it goes back to the Dodgers probably willing to do whatever it takes to bring in Shohei Ohtani and totally overpay the guy. The Mets could do the same thing if Manny comes back to the Padres and doesn't even get to that opt-out point, right? So it's a fascinating subject. Fascinating. I mean, Ohtani, he's worth it. Like, this guy's a one-of-a-kind talent. This is the most talented guy I've ever seen. And I know I'm only 19, but this guy, he is one of a kind. Mike Trout was that guy for me, but Mike Trout doesn't have a sub-3 ERA while hitting over 30 home runs. Like, Trout's a great player, but, man, Ohtani, he is something. He is something. Something to watch. Something else. Something to watch, man. Yeah, so I already went over the 2022 numbers, but it's just a 9.6 WAR, 34 bombs, 2.23 ERA. When you talk about valuable, I mean, doing it on both sides, offense and then pitching. MVP right there. That's what an MVP is. Even more than like Manny, right? Because he's doing it on both sides. Judge, yeah, he had a great case, 62 home runs and all that. But, I mean, he was very valuable to the Yankees, don't get me wrong. But he didn't do it both sides. I mean, he played defense, but he did not control it on defense as much as Ohtani did, right? Ohtani was on the mound. Ohtani was in the box as well. So both guys had a case, and Judge obviously won. All right, so was there anything else I wanted to add here? Not really. I'll get to the chat Remember, I do want to reiterate this. Seidler, why I'm not counting him out, is because he's one of those owners that is willing to not make a ton of profit if he goes all in for something and it doesn't work out. At least he tried. Like, he's trying to win. He doesn't view this only as a business, right? He's a fan of the Padres, just like Steve Cohen is a fan of the Mets. There are some owners in baseball that, sure, maybe they're fans of the team, but they don't live and die with the team winning or losing. When Peter Seidler was talking to the media after the season ended with the loss in the NLCS to the Phillies, he was still. I don't think he still had gotten over the Padres losing to the Phillies. Like, he was still pissed off about that. So, and I think it's the perfect combination, Seidler and Preller. That's a perfect duo right there, because those two guys, it seems like they don't get a ton of sleep. They stay up, at midnight, 2:30 in the morning, and they want to win so bad. They want to win more than some other owners in baseball. I don't want to say other GMs, because other GMs obviously want to win. Like, they spend a ton of time on this as well. But there are there are some owners that, if you put a lie detector test, or you did a lie detector test on them, do they really care about winning? Or are they just there to, hey, I own a professional baseball team. I'm guaranteed to make a big profit regardless of what team I am. There are some owners in baseball that do that. And it sucks. It's unfortunate. It sucks for those cities' fans. You could probably make the case that we had that at one point in this franchise's history, but we don't have it anymore. So I'm definitely grateful for that. We have an owner, as I said the other night, for no particular reason. Not. You all know what that reason is. As I said on Twitter, I'm just very grateful that we have an owner that cares about the city of San Diego and wants to be here and wants to win for this city. All right. Let's get to the chat. We have a ton of people in the chat here. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Again, a great way to support the channel is using that super chat button. There's a lot of chats, a lot of comments. So if you want to make sure that I get to your comment, use that super chat button. I do appreciate it. I'll get to the comments, but first, this episode is sponsored by Gaglione Bros Famous Cheesesteaks and Garlic Fries. Their main location is on Friars Road, and you can visit gaglionebros.com for their menu and contact information. You can also enjoy their cheesesteaks and fries at Petco Park and inside Snapdragon Stadium. All right, let's get to the chat. So Paul here says, don't want him at all, Ohtani. Priority. What's priority? Priority needs to be on re-signing Hader and Snell and other rotation guys. The only reason we should be after Shohei is to raise the price for LA and San Francisco. San Francisco is probably another team that we should throw in here as well, because they didn't sign Carlos Correa, right? They've made some other additions, but they have a ton of money to spend as well. But Ohtani, it feels like Ohtani wants to win, and the Giants don't really seem like that place right now. The Dodgers, focused on the NL teams right now. But I disagree here, Paul. You don't want Shohei at all. I think you're lying to yourself a little bit there. I understand. Look, would I rather have Soto, Manny, and more of a complete pitching staff? Yes. But to say that you don't want him at all, I think that's a little bit of a lie there. I don't think you're being too truthful with yourself there. You do want him a little bit. How does anyone not want Shohei Ohtani? And as for your point about the priority needing to be re-signing Hader and Snell, I don't think the priority needs to be re-signing Hader. The priority needs to be re-signing Manny, extending him, because relievers, they come and go. Like, you can replace relievers. AJ Preller has done that countless times. Like, every year it seems like he has replaced relievers with guys that are on lesser contracts and guys that are either have the same talent, or even better than the reliever that was there previously. This past offseason, or the offseason before this offseason, he brought in Luis Garcia and Robert Suarez to 2-year deals for both of them, right? Or no, 1-year deal for Suarez. I think it was 2 years for Garcia. How'd that work out, right? That's worked out great. And he brought back Suarez. The priority does not need to be re-signing Josh Hader, because they signed Robert Suarez this offseason to a 5-year deal. 3 years technically, because I think there's an opt-out after 3, but a 5-year deal. They signed him to be the closer when Hader leaves. They don't want to be paying Josh Hader Edwin Diaz money. I think what they want to do is make sure Hader's healthy for the postseason and just empty the tank on Josh Hader this offseason. Or not this offseason, obviously. This coming season. They just want to empty the tank on him. If he gets hurt, I mean, were they going to bring him back anyway? I know that's harsh to say. I don't want him to get hurt, obviously. I want him to be the closer on the mound in the World Series, getting that final out. I would love that. But for the Padres, I mean, they brought back Suarez. So I think that tells you right there, I don't think their priority is re-signing Hader. And for Snell, we've heard extension talks about Darvish. We haven't heard anything about Snell. I think that they might be content on letting Snell go. If the money gets out of their price range, I think they have a price range or a number for Blake Snell. And if he doesn't want it, then he's going to go somewhere else. And they'll find someone else to replace him somewhere. They can make a trade or in free agency. I haven't looked at the free agent class for next offseason. And Snell is one of the best starting pitchers on the free agent market. I do want to be clear about that. And Hader's going to be the best reliever probably on the market next offseason. But I don't think those are their priorities, to be honest. I don't think Hader should. And I think, Paul, you're lying a little bit to yourself when you don't want Shohei Ohtani at all. Come on. I think that would be good to raise the price on LA and San Francisco. But I don't think the Padres would waste their time doing that. Maybe they would leak a report to AC or another reporter to get the price tag up. But I don't think they're, having multiple meetings and wasting their time on Ohtani if they weren't really interested in Ohtani next offseason. So if they're going to be meeting with Ohtani and all that, they're not wasting their time. They're actually interested. Like they weren't wasting their time with Judge or with Trey Turner. Like they were actually interested in those guys. Judge might have been, last second, but they were interested in those guys. They were just interested in Trey Turner more than Aaron Judge probably. But once Trey Turner went to the Phillies, they pivoted and said, Judge is still out there. Let's go try to make this happen. Have this, last-minute meeting at Petco Park during the winter meetings and see if we can make it happen. And Judge, he wanted to go back to the Yankees. He wasn't going to come to the Padres. But the Padres, they don't seem like a team that wastes their time, faking out another team. Oh, we're interested. We're going to raise the price on here. They don't waste time on other free agents that they don't actually want. Mets fans think they get Ohtani. Well, they can. They definitely can. Steve Cohen has the money. Definitely has the money. So I wouldn't count them out. I think they're going to be one of the favorites to land Ohtani, especially if Manny comes back to the Padres, which is obviously what I hope happens. Kyle says, if we get Ohtani, we wouldn't be able to get Manny and or Soto. I think if we get Ohtani, we could bring back one of them. So, I don't want to count out the Padres though for getting all three of them. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's a good chance that they bring back Manny and they bring back Soto. I would lean towards them not getting Ohtani right now. But I do understand that point. Like people thinking, yeah, if we get Ohtani, we wouldn't be able to get Manny and or Soto, and people might be concerned about that. If they get Ohtani, would I be fine with Soto leaving? It would suck, But Ohtani is just that once in a generation talent, once in a lifetime talent. And so, I mean, Tatis would be in the outfield permanently. I think that's what that would be, right? Because Soto's leaving. And they can pick up outfielders on the way somehow. I know Soto is a big bat to leave. But if they get Ohtani, you are bringing Ohtani's bat in, which is a pretty darn good bat. Would I rather have? I mean, this is a great question. No one put this in the chat. Maybe you did at some point. But would the Padres or would I rather have Ohtani or Soto? On a long-term deal, I'd probably rather have Soto. On a long-term deal, I'd probably rather have Soto. Because Ohtani, he's already almost 30. I think his league age this past year was 27 or 28. So his first couple years, he's already going to be into his 30s. So long term, Soto's like 26 right now. Let me double check. Juan Soto's age. He's 24 right now. He's going to be a free agent at age 26. I'd rather have Soto long term than Ohtani because another point with this, I don't know if Ohtani is going to pitch till he's 40 and hit at the same time. So if you're the Padres, are you going to be paying someone $400 million when they're, halfway through the contract, they stop pitching or they're not effective enough to pitch consistently and they only DH? Or Ohtani makes a decision in the contract and says, you know what? I only want to pitch now, and I'm paying $40 million a year for 6 years for a guy that's only pitching. Do I want to do that? Or do I want to pay Soto that much knowing what I'm going to get? He's not the best outfielder, but he can definitely improve. He wants to improve. And we know that we're getting an amazing hitter. One of the best hitters I've ever seen. A guy with plate discipline that my parents probably haven't seen since Tony Gwynn, you know? So long term, I'd probably go Soto over Ohtani. Maybe I'm dumb. Some people will probably say Ohtani because of the pitching and the hitting, but I would take that into account. Is Ohtani guaranteed to be pitching and hitting till he's 40, 42? I don't know if that's a guarantee. And you can go get pitching every year on the free agent market. And I know Ohtani's a great pitcher, but we know what we're getting out of Soto. We do. And you gave up all of that trade capital for Juan Soto. And now you could make the case, okay, well, if they bring Ohtani in and not Soto, well, they traded all that to get 2 years of Soto. It's like they traded all that to get Ohtani, is what you could, I guess, say. But it's not actually factual, right? You traded it all to get Juan Soto and to have him here with the Padres for a decade plus, right? Not to have 2 years of him and then sign Ohtani. I'd love to have Ohtani. But long term, Soto or Ohtani, I'd probably have to go with Soto. Kevin says Shohei is a straight revenue producer. I do agree with that. I mean, yeah, the advertising's off the charts with the Angels. But if Ohtani leaves, they're like irrelevant. If the Padres don't have Shohei Ohtani, they don't get Shohei Ohtani, they're still going to be very relevant in Major League Baseball because they have a lot of other pieces. If the Angels get rid of Ohtani, or if they don't have Ohtani, and all they have is Mike Trout is great. But baseball, it's not the NBA. It's not a one-guy sport. They'd be irrelevant probably in the baseball world. No one would be paying attention to them. With the Mariners in that division and the Rangers and the Astros, no one would be paying attention to them. So when we go back to the desperate point, who would be more desperate to have them? The Angels are very desperate to have him, right? The Mets, they'd be desperate because it's Steve Cohen, want to win a World Series if they don't win one this year, right? The Dodgers, desperate because it seems like they're putting all their eggs in that Ohtani basket. But the Padres, they're going to be very relevant for the next decade, I think, even without Ohtani, because they will have plenty of talent, plenty of superstars on this team for the next decade. So, yeah, bringing in Ohtani, yeah, it's a smart free agent play. I mean, you're going to be paying a bunch of money, but yeah, of course it's smart. And you say aside from Judge, no, I think Ohtani's a smarter free agent play than Judge. For the Yankees, maybe Judge was a smarter free agent play because the captain and all that, like you had to keep him. But Judge is not a guarantee to stay healthy. I mean, he stayed healthy these last couple years, but he went through a couple years there where he could not stay healthy. And the Yankees, like, didn't want to play him 5 games or 6 games in a row because they wanted to make him healthy for the postseason. Kevin here says, choose one, extend Machado, extend Soto, or sign Shohei. Wow. Okay, look, Kevin, you are really putting me in a tough spot today, man. I'll tell you what. Extend Manny, extend Soto, or sign Shohei. Well, for me, it's either extending Machado or extending Soto. Because I know what I'm going to get out of those two players. With Shohei, I don't know how long he's going to do both. Based on age and a long-term contract, I would go with Juan Soto over Manny. And man, that pains me to say that. Please don't go on social media and say, oh, Ben hates Manny Machado. No. I don't hate Manny. I want Manny back. I just came on here a couple weeks ago or last week, whenever it was, saying that the Padres need to extend him and give him 13 years for what I say, $332 million or whatever. Give him more than Devers. He deserves it. Right? I do not hate Manny. I love Manny. But if you're making me make this choice, extending Manny, extending Soto, or signing Shohei, I'm extending Soto. The guy's 26 when he's a free agent. He's 24 right now. The guy had a bad year last year, and that would be like a career year for some players. That would be a great year. That would get him $20 million a year in free agency. You know, 2022 regular season, he hit 27 home runs, had an on-base percentage over 400. His OPS was over 850, and that's a down year for him. That's a down year for him. There's so much potential left with Juan Soto, and I think he can hit that. He can show that this year. He's going to have a much better year this year. So I'd go with Soto with the age. But please, Peter, don't do this. Don't do what Kevin's doing here, choosing one. Don't think you have to just choose one. I like to do all of them, but please just extend Manny and extend Soto, and I'll be happy. It's okay. The Padres, as much as this is like, this sounds, I don't know, this sounds cocky, the Padres don't need Shohei Ohtani. I don't think they do. I think you can get pitching elsewhere in free agency, via trades, in development. There's other ways to get pitching. Juan Soto doesn't come around. I know Ohtani doesn't come around either, but Juan Soto does not come around often. You traded so much for him, so bring him back. Just going through the chat here. Kevin says he would go Shohei over Soto. Like, there's no like wrong answer here. Like Shohei, Soto, and Manny, those are great players. Those are those three top 5 players in baseball when they're on? Shohei and Soto are. And Manny, I think he's a top 5 player in baseball right now. After the year he just had, You put him up there with Shohei and Trout and who else? Judge. I guess you have to kind of put Goldschmidt up there, right? Because of the MVP he just had. Harper when he's healthy. Like, that's the category that he's in there. Yeah. Manny goes back to LA and we riot. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Don't worry, guys. Manny's not going back to LA. Hopefully, can you guys hear me? Hopefully, you guys can hear me. Okay. I don't see any comments about you guys not being able to hear me. Because my Bluetooth said it was disconnected, so I just want to make sure. All right, going back up to the chat. Where was I? Kevin, I'm past him. Kelly says Manny is friends with Seidler. Don't be surprised. If he just gets a friendly deal to have more years, so we can get other players. He likes the culture here. He's not leaving. I don't think Manny is leaving. Why would he go visit the Colorado Rockies clubhouse and because the Padres are making a clubhouse for the future that's going to be renovated on in a couple years? Why would he do that if he's going to leave? Right? He's planning on staying. I think. Um, that's what I took from that clue that happened earlier this offseason. Yeah, I think he likes it here. I think he loves Peter Seidler. From everything that we've seen, he loves Peter. I think he also wants to get paid though, and I think Peter's going to do that. What is your take on that international signing? A catcher has awesome bloodlines. Yeah, he has like an uncle and a dad and another relative who played in professional baseball. Was signed by I think Blue Jays and Royals and Rangers. I think were teams that I saw. Maybe Cubs were another team. Um, I mean, he's 16. I'm not going to sit here and talk for 20 minutes about a guy who's 16. I have no idea what he's going to be, what he's going to turn into, but the Padres put together like this whole highlight reel of him yesterday. So they've spent plenty of time around him. It seems like they've had this agreement for like 2 years. We heard about the agreement last year, at the end of last year, about the $5.6 million signing bonus and all that. So um, maybe he's the Padres' future starting catcher and will be the best catcher in franchise history, or he'll just be traded for some amazing player down the line that I can't even talk about now because we don't know who that amazing player will be who wants out or can't reach an extension with another team. James asks, what will Manny want? Don't want him until he is 40. 40X? I find it hard we get Shohei, but let's go. Sasaki Roki will be the name I would like to pursue as a plan B. I don't know who that is. So, is he like a guy from Korea or Japan? Sasaki Roki? Roki Sasaki? Is that what you're saying? He's from Japan. He's a pitcher. He only has like 2 years though. So when is he going to get posted? That seems like a long time from now. Don't they go like 10 years in Japan before getting posted? I mean, he had a .45 ERA for uh one of the teams in 2021 that he pitched for. So yeah, it seems like he's great. How old is he? He's 20 years old. So I would think it'd be some time before he becomes available. Um, so yeah, James seems kind of like on my wavelength there with Shohei. I don't think we'll get Shohei, but I'm not going to count out the Padres. And what will Manny want? 300 mil at least, probably. He wants another $300 million contract. I mean, the Padres just paid Xander Bogaerts till he's 40, right? Through age 40 season at 280 mil. Manny's a better player than Bogaerts, so why would he expect the Padres to pay him less than that? I think at least 300 mil, at least. And why would he want less than Devers? I know Devers is younger, but Manny's a better player than Devers, and I don't see Manny slowing down anytime soon. And he's been a big part in putting the Padres on the map here, being a World Series contender. Is Ohtani a Boris client? I don't believe he is. No. Or else I think we would have we would have heard Scott talk about Ohtani recently at some point, but we have not heard him do that. So I don't think he's a Boris guy. Yeah, Mike says we only get him next year if we don't sign Soto, so we give up all those prospects for 2 years of Soto. Crazy. Manny and Soto should be the main focus. I agree. I think Manny and Soto should be the main focus. Um, I, I believe the Padres don't need Ohtani. He'd be nice. He's a great player, but I don't think they need him. Giving up all that they gave up for Soto for only 2 years of him, I mean, or 3 pennant races of him. Seidler has already said publicly that he is not satisfied with only getting 2.5 years of Juan Soto. So he would be mad if Soto left or he didn't keep Soto. So, yeah, I think Manny and Soto are the focus. I don't know how much I want to believe this Nightengale report about the Padres plan to be all in on Ohtani. Maybe if other situations are resolved and they know the money situation more, like the financial, how much money they're paying Manny in the future, if they bring Soto back, how much money they're paying him and other spots on the roster, but their plan can change based on other things that happen. Alex says, who says AJ doesn't try and trade for Ohtani if the Angels aren't competitive, I think is what Alex is trying to say here. Because the Padres don't have what it takes. I don't think they do. I mean, unless they want to immediately trade Salas that they just signed, who's 16. If they want to trade him and Merrill and Lesko to the Angels, then maybe. But I don't think the Padres would want to do that. I think it would be dumb to do that for one guaranteed season of Ohtani. That's not worth it. So AJ will call the Angels, but I don't see the Padres trading for Ohtani. I would be shocked if they traded for Ohtani. I was shocked in a good way that they traded for Soto because it's like, oh my gosh, this actually happened. But I wasn't like shocked that it happened because we'd heard about it for months, right? And the Padres had the trade package. They had enough to do it. But I don't think they have enough to do it for 1 year of Ohtani. I don't think they have enough of things that they're willing to part with for 1 year of Ohtani. Ian says the Angels aren't going to let Ohtani get to free agency, though, right? I mean, we don't even know who their new owner is going to be. They're in the middle of trying to sell that. Artie Moreno, who's the current owner. I don't think he's going back to the Angels. I mean, if the Angels give him $500 million, then yeah, he'll probably come back. But he wants to be on a contender. Like he's had several years now of being on the Angels with Mike Trout, and they haven't made the postseason. If they make the postseason this year, then maybe he'll think more about it. But why would he want to go back to the Angels and not win? Like he's already made comments to the public, with the media stuff about wanting to be on a contender. Why would he want to go back to the Angels? They're not going to be a consistent contender, even with him. And him hitting 30-plus home runs and having a WAR of almost 10. They're still not a contender for a World Series. Maybe a contender for a playoff spot, like the last playoff spot, but they're not a World Series contender by any means. Kevin here says, other notable free agents next offseason. Scherzer, I think that's for an opt-out, though. I don't think he's like a full free agent because it was a 3-year deal that he signed. Last year was his first year with the Mets, right? I think last year was his first year with the Mets. But even if it is, okay, Scherzer, Baez, then it drops to Stroman, Donaldson, Darvish. Yeah, I mean, it's not great. So Manny might want to go to free agency to go drive up the price. But that leads me back to my desperate point. Like, I think the Padres, that's why they'd be very smart to lock down Manny. And the desperate point about Ohtani, Ohtani's going to free agency. I don't see an extension being worked out with the Angels. So let's say, oh, whoa, 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 hang on. Hold on a second here. Hold on a second. Breaking news. Breaking news. Robert Murray reporting that the San Diego Padres are signing veteran starting pitcher, another starting pitcher. Oh, my bad. Dang it. That's kind of underwhelming. Sorry. It says right-hander Angel Sanchez is signing a minor league contract with the Padres. I saw first when I looked down, I saw the AN and I thought it was, and then I saw the Sanchez. I thought it said Anibal Sanchez. My bad. That was a name I knew. All right. Let's keep going here with this Ohtani thing. I won't even talk about that guy. I don't even know who that guy is. Um, so yeah, next off season, Ohtani's the big guy. So the Dodgers, they're gonna go all in on him. The Mets, they'll probably go all in on him. I would think. Um, as long as they keep like Scherzer. But yeah, Ohtani doesn't even compare to the other guys available. And I hope the Padres can work out an extension with Darvish. It seems like he wants to finish his career with the Padres, or at least finish the best years of his career with the Padres. But yeah, there's a drop off. So that that's another reason why the Padres should lock down Manny, because if they don't, he is going to get a ton of offers. Maybe not a ton of offers. He's going to get a ton of money on those offers. Looks like this guy's a Dodger fan. Says Dodgers are going to drop a Brinks truck on Otani's house next offseason. It will be a record-breaking offer for at least 450 mil. Maybe. And if it is, then great for the Dodgers. Cool. All I care about is if the Padres bring back Soto and Manny. Like, I'll say it again. If the Padres bring back Soto and Manny, it's okay if the Dodgers get Ohtani. Like, because I think that guarantees the Padres being a World Series contender like every year for a long time. If they get Ohtani, if the Padres get Ohtani, and let's say they bring back Manny, then yeah, they could be that as well. But Ohtani's not on the Padres. The Padres can only control what they control right now. They can only let me rephrase that. They can only control what they can control right now. And that is trying their best to lock down Manny and Soto. Soto, he's probably going to free agency. That's what it seems like. It's a Boris client. But Manny, I think there's actually a chance that he can sign back with the Padres and not even go to free agency if they give him the money that he wants. With Soto, I mean, if they give him 500 mil, then okay, yeah, he'll probably sign. But it seems like his head is probably set on going to free agency. Like him and Boris, they're already set on that. But the Padres, they can control Manny right now. Not him literally, but they can control that situation. Give him a great offer and put it into his put the ball in his hands. Does he want to be a Padre or not? They can't control this Ohtani situation right now. Someone says here Ohtani will get 9 years, $556 million. No, he's not. Soto's not even going to get it that. No one's getting that. No, Alex, I have not seen Blue Heaven. Mike says this top five is not a World Series staff. AAA are minor acquisitions. Let's get real. Key on Manny, Soto, and a starting pitcher this year should be enough for a World Series. I think it should be, but right now, yes, the Padres. I want them to get another starting pitcher, but I don't think they need another starting pitcher by the beginning of the season. I want another starting pitcher that I can be confident in giving the ball to Game 4 NLCS, which is what we weren't confident in last year. I want to be confident in that guy. I want to get that guy before the trade deadline. As long as that happens, I'm happy. If they don't get it by the beginning of the season, that's not the end of the world. Because as we saw last year, winning in the regular season, as long as you make the postseason, winning 111 games, that doesn't matter. Winning 90 games to get in, that's what matters. Just getting in and then having the team necessary to go deep is what matters. Friar Info says, I don't really feel like we have the money for Shohei. I think we have the money. I just don't know if Seidler feels like he has the money for Manny, Soto, and Ohtani on top of the contracts that he's paying already. Musgrove, Bogarts, Tatis. That would be $1.904 billion for 6 players if Manny Soto and Ohtani came to the Padres. I don't see that happening. And then Friar Info also says we should just get Michael Wacha. He wants like $15 million a year, so I'm not giving him that. So no thanks. Just go make a trade for a pitcher. Things change as well. There are teams that will not look like they're a playoff team, and maybe they are more open to trading starting pitchers before the trade deadline when they weren't willing to do that right now. So things can change with guys that are available for the Padres to possibly trade for. Yeah, I agree. There's no way. I don't. There is a way if they give him a ton of money, but I don't see Ohtani going back to the Angels. David says this all changes if the Padres win the World Series. If the Padres win the World Series, then I mean, yeah, of course, I'm going to want them to keep going, but I'll just be happy with the World Series. Like, I'm okay if they have 3 years of not being good after the World Series if they win a World Series. The goal is winning the World Series. Win the first one. That's what this city wants. That's what this fan base wants, right? Win the first one. We haven't done that yet. We got to focus on that. If they win a World Series, I do agree. Revenues will go through the roof. Money, they will have plenty of money to spend. And so, yeah, I would anticipate that they would continue to do so. David has a question here. Do you think maybe they're trying to drive up the price for the Dodgers? Maybe. But I did touch on this earlier. I don't think the Padres, maybe they're doing that now because they can't control what's going to happen next offseason. Like, they're just waiting around right now for spring training and stuff. So they're just throwing stuff out there. But next offseason, if you hear reports about Ohtani and them meeting with Ohtani and stuff, that's not just them driving up the price. They're actually interested. The Padres would not waste their time on Ohtani and stuff. They would not waste their time when they could go be getting other players. That's not the way, at least I don't think that's the way Seidler and Preller would be operating. Preller likes, uncovering every little thing and going through every different scenario. But when it comes to meeting with a superstar free agent, I don't think he would do that unless he was actually interested in signing that free agent. L2 says, why are you analyzing this stuff in a matter-of-fact way? If Mr. Seidler has let it be known that they're all in on Ohtani, then it means he has the money needed to sign him. Hang on. I'm not saying that he doesn't have the money to sign Ohtani. I just don't see him signing Manny, Soto, and Ohtani. I didn't say that they don't have the money for Ohtani. I just don't see them signing all 3 of those guys. And Seidler, by the way, he has not let it be known that the Padres are all in Ohtani. He has not said that. That's just a report by Bob Nightengale. We don't know who the source is from that report. We don't know if it's some agent that heard something from another team that knows about the Padres discussions. That rumor might not even be true. We don't know. Seidler has not let it be known that they're all in on Ohtani. This is just a report that we're hearing from Bob Nightengale that is saying that the Padres plan to be all in. Nightengale has gotten some stuff wrong before. Devin says, what about Manny, Soto, Darvish, and Snell? I think he's saying about keeping these guys. Like, instead of Ohtani, go with these guys. I don't know if they're going to keep Snell, but it seems like they want to keep Darvish. I think that they would keep Darvish. And then, yeah, Manny and Soto, I think that should be a focus of theirs right now. David asks, what's your feeling about Tatis going to FanFest? I like it. I mean, an environment filled with Padres fans, this is going to be the first time in a long time that he's going to be cheered. I don't think it'll be raining boos. There'll be some idiots that will probably boo him. Or maybe there won't because they'll go to FanFest thinking that they will be booing him. But then they'll be like, then when they get there, they're going to be standing in front of a huge crowd and be like, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to stand out and put all the attention on me for booing this guy? You know, you can't control what he did this past season. I was very disappointed in him. I still am. I'm always going to remember that, but I'm going to cheer for the guy. I want the Padres to win, and he can help the Padres do that. You can't change what happened in the past. You can only hope that this guy changes his actions and is a team player and he stays healthy and really helps his team wins. Helps this team win. And I think he can do that. So yeah, I like Tatis going to FanFest. I think I don't think that he'll be sitting like signing autographs. I don't think he's going to be doing that. They'll probably put him up at the Q&A part of it with Jesse Agler or with maybe Manny there as well. And it will be like controlled questions. And because this is the first time that he's going to be able to talk to the fans in person in public. Because last time it was in the dugout to reporters, right? So I think they'll tee up the questions. You know, are you sorry for this? What are you doing now to fix your actions? What's your message to Padres fans as we go into spring training? Just tee him up with questions like that, and then he'll respond with, I'm doing all that I can to help this team. I'm willing to take on any role. I apologize. I messed up. That was my fault. I let you guys down, but I don't plan on letting you guys down ever again. You know, I'm working my butt off. I'm gonna continue working my butt off. Like that's probably what will happen, I would think. Devin here says, just curious thought, but do you want improvements made in Petco? Expanded seats, different color seats now that they have the brown and gold. I don't really care about the colored seats. I'd rather them just invest money into the team on the field. Um, Maybe move the right field fence in a little bit, stop creating those or, end those awkward angles. Maybe that attracts more free agents, more hitters to the team because it is a pitcher's ballpark. But no, Petco, it's the number one ballpark in America. I mean, I can't really think of maybe if I thought about it for a longer period of time, maybe I'd think of something, but I don't really think of any improvements that I want made to Petco, to be honest. It's a good question. Gil says Ethan Salas should go to AZ so he can start to catch Lesko, Snelling, and a couple others early. The future is now. They might do that. I was reading, I think in the Union Tribune, they're either going to start him in the Dominican League or I think they're going to start him in Arizona. I think that's where they had Jarlin Susana start before they traded him to the Nationals in that Soto deal. So yeah, that Arizona is a possibility. I like the way you're thinking. Looks like a Dodger fan here says, I don't know why Padre fans are worrying about Manny re-signing. I'm a Dodgers fan, and I can tell you he's not going anywhere. Well, I mean, cool. Thank you for not being delusional and thinking that Manny's going to go to the Dodgers. I applaud you on that. But I think Padres fans are concerned because they're seeing what this free agent market is, and they know that Manny will opt out if it gets to that point, and they're scared, or not they're us as a fan base are probably thinking the worst. We're thinking the Mets didn't bring in Correa for 315. That's 315 that they can go spend on Manny. The Giants, they didn't go bring in Carlos Correa for 350 mil. That's a lot of money they can spend on Manny. You know, and you could toss around other teams as well. That's probably what some fans are thinking. I'm not as concerned about it, but I'm definitely saying on here and gonna say countless times there should be urgency. I think it should be a priority to bring Manny back because I don't want it to get to that point, because I don't want him to even think about going to the Mets or going to another team. I don't want another owner calling his agent up and saying, "Here's $400 million," and just going bonkers with it. So that's how I would answer it, at least. I think he will come back. I don't think he's going anywhere. So I do agree with that. But fans, we think the worst, right? You know, we panic until something is done. Right? Red Sox fans before the Devers extension, they were like, "Oh my gosh, they're gonna let Devers go as well." Seriously? They just let Bogarts walk, Betts traded for nothing, and now Devers is gonna walk as well. You know, John Henry, what are you doing, dude? And then they signed Devers, and it was like an exhale. You know, we're just waiting for it to happen. You know, we're gonna worry until it happens. Fans were worriers. I think that's what it is. Joey says, "What would the contract look like if we got Ohtani?" I have no idea. Probably over $400 million, 10 years at least. It would be long term. It's probably going to take more than 400. I think the Dodgers. That might be Ohtani's floor is like 400 mil. He is so freaking talented that 400 might be his floor. And I'm not kidding. Based on the money that's getting thrown around, all right, I think that's going to do it. Over an hour and 15 minutes here, Talking Friars episode 320. According to Bob Nightengale, the Padres plan to be all in on Shohei Ohtani. They plan to be, or it looks like, the Dodgers' stiffest competition for Ohtani. Do we believe that? I think some fans will. I'm not going to count out Peter Seidler. I don't think Ohtani's going to come to the Padres, but I mean, I hope that I'm proven wrong as long as Manny and Soto are on the team. We'll see what happens. It's definitely something that's going to be talked about a lot. And keep commenting. Keep giving me your thoughts at Talking Friars on social media about it here on YouTube. And I'd love to get back to all you. Thanks for listening or watching. See ya.